Welcome to the Pink Lady Posse podcast, where women over 50 take a fresh look at living, toss out tired stereotypes, and say a big heck yes to what's next. I'm your host, Sandy Parker, and around here, we challenge limitations, rewrite the story on aging, and reclaim our power, pleasure, and purpose. Why? Our next years are not about a decline. They are our big reveal. Let's go. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I woke up this morning, looked at my calendar, saw this on it, and was like, yes, I get to hang out with Sandy. Woo!
So I want to ask you about I'm in three of your things, so I know what you're up to, but how would you describe what you're up to in the dimensions of the different things? What's the umbrella?
Yeah. So it's the name of the message that's mine to bring to the world, too. I think of it as the unbroken web. It's this idea that we're all connected. We all have this thread of the universe coming through us, and it is reclaiming our own quantum connection, our own understanding that all of us are connected to all of us. I think it's such an important message for today. And it's a thread that runs through all my work, whether it's my work with the Reset It process or Wise Women Collective or Be More Conference for Women or Bridge Collective. All of that has this thread running through it for me that is about our awakening to this realization, not just an idea, but really embodying the knowingness of our complete connection, our quantum connection that we all have, and the ways that that changes how we look at what we're doing in the world and at each other and all of that. And there's a lot today, Sandy, of disconnection. There's a lot of arguing, us and them. And the unbroken web is about reclaiming our quantum connection in a way that allows us all to recognize that there is no us and them. There's only we. It's the ultimate we.
Yeah, and it seems so elusive, right?
Yeah.
I feel like right now there's a they and a we and a them and an us. I'm like, what is happening?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's just start with Bridge Collective.
Okay.
Cause when you said, oh, there's this cool thing about Bridge Collective, I'm like, oh boy, LinkedIn. The beautiful thing that I saw immediately is this elevated sense of trust.
Mm-hmm.
In this world of AI, I can't even tell who's really anybody anymore.
Right. Right.
To have someone, if I know that you know them, they go right up to 100% on my scale.
Well, I'm with you, Sandy. That's such an important point. When I talk to people at first about do you use LinkedIn and how do you use it and are you a fan and things like that? First of all, I almost never run into people who are fans. And the thing that they complain about it and other social media, but specifically in conversations about LinkedIn, the thing they complain about the most is that it feels like it's a hotbed of people trying to sell you something, people trying to, get to know you who don't really know you and don't really want to get to know you. They just want to sell you something. And that is the complaint I hear over and over and over. These people that are engaged in what I call cold outreach. So you're getting messages from people that you have no connection to. It's so clear from their message that they never even read my profile, right? Like, I got one the other day that said, have you ever thought about reading a book? Well, clearly they hadn't read my profile because I wrote a book 11 years ago and it's clearly in my profile, right? So I just wrote them back and said, clearly you haven't even looked at my profile, or you would know that this message makes no sense
You
for me.
did
So
not. Did you
I
really?
did. I did. Of course I did. So, but my point is what you said, trust, right? Trust is such an important thing, and when trust is broken, it's hard to get back. And in all walks of our lives, whether it's our personal relationships or our work relationships. And so having a way to build your network built on trusted connections, right? That's what I love about the way Bridge Collective works. You are not going to get introduced to, I can't introduce you to somebody through Bridge Collective that I don't already have as a trusted connection. And you can't ask me to introduce you to someone who I don't already have as a trusted connection.
What a
So,
concept that
right,
you know
that's,
someone and and I mean, I had a thing happen this week where I was sort of, I don't want to say hurt, but affected by automation in two ways. One, I had a Zoom call and I was there at 2 minutes after. I logged in and I got an automatic reply that says, "Sorry you missed it." I'm like, I'm a person. I just drove all the way across town to be here. Like automation is taking sort of the lead on everything. I want to know a person.
yeah, yeah,
And that
right.
man that I reached out to you, because we're in the collective together, I said, "Do you know him?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Any friend of Lynn's a friend of mine. We'll do a Zoom." I'm like, it was a person. It wasn't
Yes.
an automation. It was just, oh, it was so yummy.
And isn't that a wonderful thing when you meet someone and they feel great about the person who introduced you to them and they show up willing to be in conversation with you just because someone they know, like, and trust introduced you? That's a great feeling,
It's
right?
almost
That you're
like
on
the
the
old
receiving
days.
end of that.
Almost like the old days where if I know you and you know him, and this week,
Yeah.
it wasn't a good week for me with automation.
Yeah. It has its upside and its downside for sure.
But I honestly felt left out. Like I had it on my calendar. I couldn't wait to do the training. And I just felt so. Anyway, I'll go on about that. So, the other thing I'm excited about my TED Talk. And
Yes.
I'm so excited. And I was talking about when I had my knee replacements. And I went to rehab, and the lady said, "Here's a curb, the 6 inches of a curb," which I haven't stepped on a curb in 30 years, right? And I'm like, "I can't do it." She goes, "Well, your knees are ready, but your brain is not."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Can I do it?" The whole thing of reframing a story
Yeah.
that is an old story.
Yeah.
I know that you're all about programming and what we've
Yeah.
been believing and what we can let go of. So tell me a little bit about that because I really have lived it.
And Sandy, that's such a great example. All of us have heard our whole lives about mind over matter, right? And we've been fed ideas like just change how you think and it'll change your reality, right? Change your thoughts, change your reality. And that can be true to a degree, but it's also true that we are all recipients of programs. Programs come to us from people, from society. What did mom and dad always say? That's a program, right? Mom and dad, whoever raised us, are our original programmers, right? They think it's their job to tell us how to see life and ourselves. And so that's our first ones. But it is also, we all have life experiences where someone always says something and then our experience kind of validates it or, convinces us it's true, proves to us it's true, whatever it is. And when in fact, none of that belongs to us, right?
We inherited it.
We inherited it. And programs can be sometimes we receive the program from a person, say, and then we have life experience that continues to validate that program over and over and over. That's conditioning. And so a program is how it might start, and then it gets reinforced by conditioning. And then you look up and it is a embedded subconscious belief that's like if I took off my glasses and I put on my sunglasses, I'm still looking at the same world. I'm still looking at you and looking at the computer and all that, but it's all going to look different because I have a filter on over my vision. And that filter changes how I see myself in the world,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so when we can remove those subconscious embedded filters, we have freedom. And the real thing I want people to hear me say about that is we cannot think or write our way out of an embedded subconscious belief. We cannot journal our way out of it. We cannot do therapy our way out of it, talk about it. We cannot, that is just not how it works. So we have to learn to reset. And reset is a process based on the principles of neuroscience and quantum physics that resets those embedded subconscious beliefs and removes them. And then those filters are gone. And I have my clear glasses back on, and now I can see, right? So now I can make decisions from my authentic self, not through the vision of programs and conditions.
When you said that, something just triggered a memory when Rodney was ill and he was eventually going to die, but I didn't know that at the time. I
Yeah.
remembered I was looking at him as a sick man.
Hmm.
Like I didn't tell him about the bills. I sort of shielded him from life, and I thought he can't really handle it. He's a sick man.
Yeah.
But when I got the awareness that he's not a sick man, he's a man, and he's up to it, I started acting differently. Until I had the awareness, I
Yeah.
was trapped in it because I didn't even see it.
Well, that's the case with all kinds of transformation, right? Awareness is that first thing. It's the first step in reset it. You can't reset something you're not aware of,
Right.
right? And so people ask me all the time, do I have to know what my programs and conditions are in order to reset them? And the answer to that is no. In the process of learning this reset it process, you are able to then discern what you're resetting. You don't have to know coming into it. When I teach my clients reset it, they may or may not have any idea what they think they're going to reset when they get into it.
So by reset, I'm just going to ask
Yeah,
like blank.
right.
There once was a way of thinking, and now it's a new way of thinking,
Hmm.
or reset or relieved from. How does that work? Like,
Yeah,
talk
so
about.
it isn't thinking. That's the main thing I
Okay,
would
good.
say,
All
because
right.
you can't think your way out of it. Sandy, I wrote a book 11 years ago that's a thinking tool. It's called Nine Little Words to Change Your Results, and the subtitle is Releasing Old Patterns and Moving Forward with Three Short Phrases. So I've been at this a while, this idea
Oh,
of getting out of our own way, right? I wanted to do that so badly that I wrote a book about it, all I had learned so far at that point about doing it. But that was a thinking tool, and it didn't do it. For the things that I had that were these filters, I could intellectually know that they weren't serving me. I could even intellectually know what they were, but you can't think or talk your way out of an embedded subconscious belief. So, what reset it does is it teaches us a process we were all born able to do. Every one of us that incarnated on this earth can do this if as long as we have an intact brain, right? We can do it.
now
I
that's a
mean,
big question.
well, not to be funny, but there are people who have closed head brain injuries, for instance, and their brain's not wired the same way anymore.
Please
So
forgive
they,
me. That was like,
right, they may not be able to do it, but most, the vast majority of adults can do this. We were all born able to do it. It's just nobody ever taught us how. And it's simple, Sandy. It's simple. It is not complex. We can talk our way around it for hours, but the truth is, it's not hard. It's simple. It may not always be easy, but it's simple. And once you kind of get what it is that it does for you and how to do it, then you can just do it whenever something comes up. And it isn't that people also ask me all the time, well, once I reset something, is it gone forever? That's a question I hear all the
I
time.
wish
Well, is the
it
answer.
is.
It is. It's gone forever. However, we use this analogy of a tree. So picture a big oak tree. And this oak tree has, a nice big thick trunk and a bunch of fluffy branches, right? And this oak tree, the trunk of the tree is made up of categories of programs that everybody has something in those categories, right? One category is like family. What did the people who raised you always say? Oh, dad always said you never have a second chance to make a first impression or whatever. That was one of my dad's, right? Well, that's a category in the trunk of the tree. My programs and conditions from that category, that's the branches and the twigs and the leaves, right? And so we talk about it in those terms so we have a way that makes sense to our intellectual brain to navigate where we are and to kind of see how it all works together. And so when you reset a program, if you successfully reset it, it's done. Now, that's a branch. There might be a twig on that branch that is related, that is just different enough from the rest of the
Yeah.
branch that it needs its own reset too. It might pop up in your awareness after you've reset the branch. You might not think to reset that twig. And then something happens and the twig raises its head and goes, I'm still over here blowing in the breeze, this twig, and I'm going to influence your reactions. And you go, wait a minute, I thought I reset that thing that was the branch. Well, you did. You just didn't recognize there was a twig hanging out here, right?
So you've been about this for how long in
About
resetting?
3 years,
Okay. So, but ironically, when did you write the book?
11 years ago,
So it's
right?
who you are in the world.
It is.
It's about you.
Yeah, it's about how do we get out of our own way and how do we collectively together be the best we can be?
Yeah. So is there a spiritual element? That's a weird question, I know, but for some reason it seems like so woven into who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. You know, spiritual. Lots of programs around that word too.
I
Lots of
bet.
programs from all the religions, right? Because think about what religion is. Religion teaches us here's how you're supposed to think about yourself in the world. What does that sound like? A program. Some outside sources telling you how to think about yourself in the world. So, is there a spiritual element to it? Well, if there is a spiritual element to us as human beings, then there's a spiritual element to this, right? Because we are talking about, you've heard me say 100 times, reset it is based on the principles of neuroscience and quantum physics. Here's what that means. Neuroscience is how we're wired. It's how our minds and bodies work together, right? So it's based on that. And quantum physics is how we interact energetically with the rest of the world, right? That quantum energy field. And so when we are looking at it that way, there are some people who equate the quantum energy field with a divine being, right?
Right.
A creator, right? There are some people who don't. So, can I answer? Is there a spiritual element to it? Well, if you if you believe there's a spiritual element to human beings, and it just, what do you mean by spiritual, right? I feel like that unbroken web that I talk about, this reclaiming our quantum connection amongst all of us, that whole thing is, I think a lot of people would call that spiritual.
Well, I think of the phrase we're spiritual beings having a human experience,
Mm,
right? And the
right.
reason I guess I'm so curious why I ask you that, except I have always found you to be,
I'm afraid to hear what you're going to
no,
say.
there's a level of function, right? Like you're a super educated person, you've been my mentor, you've been my marketing trainer, but there's this vibe of connection that
Yeah.
is different than what you know. Like I
Right.
feel connected to you for all my life.
Right.
When I'm
Right.
doing marketing or reset it, and for me, that has been the most beautiful gift because, you know, I want that. I want that connection with human
Mhm.
beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I
Well,
would say that's spiritual
the
for
answer to
me.
that would be yes from you then. Yeah. I do think, this kind of the umbrella idea that encompasses all I do. And umbrella is so incomplete of a way to talk about it. But the container that holds everything I do, I now talk about as the unbroken web. And it is about reclaiming our quantum connection. And that is that relationship that we all have to each other that is undeniable, unbreakable. It's not about repairing. It's never been broken. It can't be broken. It
Mm.
exists in the quantum energy field that is in and through all of us. So it cannot be, there's nothing to heal because you can't have it unhealed. It
It's,
is that ultimate connection.
it's so interesting because yesterday I was talking to somebody about, you know, I'm all about the second half of life is a reveal, not a decline. But the word reinvention to
Mm.
me suggests that we need to be reinvented. I was already invented.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, this idea of reinvention or the idea of how we, whatever we think needs healing or something, those are probably ways of thinking of life and ourselves that someone else handed to us. And you know what I'm going to say
Absolutely.
that means.
I had a program one time that said, you don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. You
Yeah.
might just want to adjust your crown a little, right? Like
Right.
we're not
Right.
broken.
Right. Right.
So,
Right. You can't, I want to say when we learn to be present
ooh,
to life, to to our connection to the rest of the universe, to our essential selves, then that's when we really understand that I can't be broken and my connection to the world can't be broken.
what a beautiful message. I mean, I'm looking forward to the people who are hearing this podcast who feel like they need to fix something.
Yeah.
There's nothing to fix.
There's nothing to fix.
You're perfect, perfectly imperfect,
Right.
right? I mean, there's nothing to fix. And my whole challenge is to help people see that live your life till your very last breath. And I've had
Yeah.
clients that died shortly after our workshop. And I'm like, she was living her best life.
Hmm.
So I just want people to be alive and fully alive. But that
Yeah.
goes back to the presence you're talking about.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to be, how would you describe being present?
Sandy, being present, a lot of people think of it as just being really aware and tuned in to the present moment. And I would say, while that is very true, there is a deeper experience of presence where we are really aware of our bringing our consciousness into alignment with that quantum energy field where all the answers live, where all the connection is unbreakable, right? All of those things. And I'll give you a really, this sounds so kind of fluffy, airy fairy, whatever. But I
I
want to give
love
you,
airy fairy.
well, I do too, but not everybody does. So I want to
I
give
know.
you a really concrete example of this that I bet almost everybody has had. So, one of the programs I received from my dad was he drove a car like everybody else on the highway was out to get him. A lot of people call that defensive driving, right?
Okay.
And we've all had, lots of us have some programs around defensive driving that we received from whoever taught us to drive. And I received this from riding in the car with my father, and he would have commentary about all the other drivers on the road, right? And it was clear that he felt like all the other drivers on the road were out to get him. And it was
Mm.
his job to, by golly, make sure they didn't and keep his family safe and run, run, run. It was just like that. And while intellectually, I knew that other drivers on the road weren't out there just to get me, right? And I had even had somebody offer me the idea, I don't know, 30 years ago. Somebody said, "Hey, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, just think, wow, they must need to get to the hospital, or they must have a sick kid in the car with them, or anything like that's possible. So I'm just going to wish them the best on whatever it is they need to do and not get upset or mad." And so intellectually, I had that in my head. I understood it. I knew that that was a possibility to just bless people on their way, kind of thing. But in my subconscious filters that we were talking about, I had this program playing that said, everybody on the road is out to get you. And that didn't belong to me. That was a program I received from an outside source, life experience of driving with my dad, and it didn't belong to me. And so before I reset that program, I would drive around thinking in my head, oh, that person's okay, but reacting like, damn it. Why would you act like, why would you cut me off in traffic? Like I would have these big reactions to the way other people were driving because I had this subconscious program,
Mm.
even though intellectually I knew maybe give them a break because they might have a sick kid in the car, right? Or
Right.
whatever. So it's a great example of how when we free ourselves of those programs, now I drive around, I don't even have to think maybe there's some, I just no longer cuss at people in the car the way daddy did. I no longer do that. And I no longer have any, I don't even have to tell myself maybe they this or maybe they that or whatever. I'm like, it's more like this now. Hey, look, there goes a little part of me. I see those other people
Wow.
as connected so intrinsically, so at all our core. There is no way to break the connection.
That would change the world.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why the unbroken web and this idea of reclaiming our quantum connection, I
Mm.
think, is so powerful. It's an idea whose time has come. We need its time to come. We, as a
I
as a
know,
human
right?
race and as a planet, we all need to understand that connection. And, I talk about how it comes from neuroscience and quantum physics, but Sandy, my undergraduate degree was world religions, and I studied ancient religions because I was fascinated by how people make meaning in the world, and how our spiritual beliefs influence how we see the world. And so it is absolutely also an idea that is throughout the world. Every culture has a version of we're all connected, oneness, right? Every major religion has that somewhere in their scriptures,
Yeah,
right?
the other thing I realize is that in all the religions, there's another thing is that wake up.
Mm.
Like, you know, so I forget the quote, but somebody said, "Why be awake?" It says, "So you see the sunrise," right?
Yeah,
Like, wake up is a part of all the religions,
yeah,
and there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Wake up, sleeper."
yeah,
That's to me, that is I don't want to use a dire word, but I want to say what's sad is when people sleepwalk through life
mm.
kind of numbed out to cope with the way things are. In fact, I was just writing a thing that said, it's almost like a dull tax. Like we go from what if to oh well, like we just get snoozy about life. And today is a great day to be alive,
Yeah,
and wake up, sleeper. And you have to wake up to your programming. You can't be
yeah,
asleep. You can't be
right.
drifting. You can't be, because my dad said so. I'm 69 years old. What my dad said now, I mean, it's still active, let me tell you.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how great to be free of those programs and conditions so that I can live
yeah.
my life.
Right. And there's an analogy that I have. I have a slide with this picture on it in several of the talks I give about this. And it's an old fashioned bird cage, the kind of wire bird
Yeah.
cage that has all the like spines coming up. Each one of those pieces has a tag on it with a different program. I'm not good enough. Food is comfort. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to get ahead. These are all common programs and they make up the bird cage. But when you reset them, there is no cage. It is the ultimate freedom.
Well, I feel like this peaceful pause of the reality of that.
Yeah, it's
Like,
good.
come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I love you to pieces.
I love you
Thank
too.
you for being here. We're
Thank
now
you,
on
honey.
video. I can't wait for people to see your face and get to know us. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Let's do it again. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Pink Lady Posse Podcast, where women go from what now to what's next. Come join us at pinkladyposse.com, where we share community, resources, and tools to support your next beautiful chapter. With love, light, and a little lipstick. See you next time.